And so, I'm glad you kind of it's a good segue into because when we were listening to it, I was reading through the lyrics and it sounds so. And let me stop there. Just want to put out there, this is not like a fad country record. Like it's not.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's a little bit of hip hop and R&B, and oh, it just happens to be over a country beat.
Thank you.
This is authentic country music,
Thank
in
you.
my opinion. I don't know if Cal agrees or not, but to me, like when you told me this, I was like, oh, he probably still gonna have a hip hop cadence and still kind of either rap or still give that R&B vibe to it. No, this was very true to the art form of country music.
Thank you.
Which was refreshing because a lot of times people try to fit into a fad or fit into something else, trying to just be different. Whereas this felt like this genuinely came from a genuine place. And your lyrics, you talk about it. I mentioned it. The 10 toes in the water, head in the clouds, and off air we've talked about this, but kind of talk about that. Like you were talking about that this was like you're talking about your baptism, your second baptism.
Yeah.
So give us more about that.
So yeah, when you guys heard it at the studio, I was just so excited, and a lot of people hear it that I've let hear it, and then they don't realize me saying 10 toes in the water and my head's in the cloud. Sometimes you realize it out of nowhere. It's basically me talking about rededicating my life to God. And I feel like I had to get my pillars lined up in this past 2 years more than ever. And talking in the first verse, I've been on the fence too long, fighting demons. I think when you get information and you learn from people, and not to go too deep into it, I talk to my pastor about this all the time, being church hurt. Yeah. A lot of people are church hurt. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't go to church, and then a lot of people they might not believe in the same faith and et cetera, et cetera. But a lot of people honestly are just church hurt. I realized I was just church hurt. So once I visited and found the right congregation, God was like, you don't have an excuse now. Yeah. You can't say the church you used to go to when you was young where the preacher stole the money and he was sleeping with sister so and so. He was da 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 da. I mean, not da 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 like people don't have trauma in that area, but I have my own in those areas. But this particular time was like, you're actually hearing the word of God, and you're actually learning about God more. I don't think I grew up in church. Mom was choir director. I became choir director at 17, 18. Was in church forever and didn't know who God was. Got married to a deacon's daughter, didn't know who God was. This last 3 years, God had to take me, like my granny always say, it sounds old school, but God actually literally took me to the woodshed. And I was like, wow, I've been on the fence too long about this. So that part was about, and the funny part about it, I didn't plan to say that in this song. It came.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when we were talking, a lot of this sounded as if it all started that way. Because you were telling me how y'all kind of just went in the studio and just playing around, and then one song led to the next and the next and the next. So, like, that to me, for me, having the musical background that I have and being around, musicians and artists, like, that's when the best work is made. Is when they just go in there. It's like, let's try something, and then it's like, oh, let's try it again. Let's try it again. So
I started
expound on it. Like,
I was in my truck, my work truck, my Chevy, the old school Tahoe.
It sounds like a country song. That's why.
I was in my truck in the Chevy Z71, and I was doing this. I was just in there, and then I said, on the billow, and I was just, and And I was like, you know what? This sounds like a dope melody. I hit Trey up at Whaley. Shout out to Whaley and Wayne over there, man. They doing their thing. I said, Trey, I think I have my first Southern country song. He said, all right, let's go to the studio. Went to the studio. I showed him. I recorded myself because, as you know, like you guys do this, when you come up with something, you just record it on the phone.
Yep.
Or I would send it. I used to send it to my homie Jabo. Jabo has so many messages from me. My woman definitely has it now. I'm sending audios of me just singing randomly. So I'm like, don't pay this text no mind. I'm just singing. I'm writing. And then we went to the studio, did the melody. I got a video of it. I'm definitely going to show it. And then how I start my songs is doing the melody. That was the melody. And then that morphed into the lyrics side of it. I didn't have the lyrics. I had below, out of nowhere. When you have the word in the midst of the mumbling, that's the song. You know what I'm saying? So I was trying to, and I wanted to do that in the hook because that's really the catchy part. I said, no, I got to do this in the verse. So after every line, it was out of nowhere. Then at that point, you got to figure out, okay, this hook has to be better than that right there. So that's kind of how that came to life right there.
What's up to all the thinkers out there? This is your host of Different Thought Podcast, Mike Hayes. Man, we want to tell you guys to just go out, subscribe, and like, and provide us some comments. Let us know what you think about this episode and other episodes on our show of Different Thought Podcast.